Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. This is the show designed to show you the latest research and the latest developments on what you can do to live a healthier life for as long as absolutely possible. And I've got a good one for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Como. Brandon, how's it going this morning?
I'm doing well, and talking before the show about what's coming up on today's show. I'm really looking forward to hearing it because I think this is an area that is starting to get some attention now, but in some ways or in many ways, it's very much overlooked.
Well, it's true, Brandon. You know, what we're going to talk about today is the one disease that could bankrupt our country. And that is not an understatement. This one disease, if something isn't gotten under control with this, could be the final nail in the coffin of our healthcare system. And the disease I'm talking about is Alzheimer's disease. We're going to discuss Alzheimer's disease today, brain health, dementia, and other mental disorders. And it's very true that Alzheimer's, if something is not done to try to change the brain health of America, we're going to be in real trouble because it's so costly to treat these patients. You know, this is 24/7 care, and that's the most expensive treatment plan or kind of treatment that a patient can require is constant 24/7 monitoring. Now, I want you guys to understand on this entire show today, when I talk about Alzheimer's, I don't want you to tell yourself, well, that's not happening to me, that's somebody else. Dementia and brain health problems are rampant in America. Older folks are losing their memory. Younger folks are developing depression and anxiety. Even our kids are developing attention problems and concentration difficulty. Guys, we have a brain health problem in America, period. And the saddest part about all of that is there's a pretty simple solution to try to make your brain function and be healthier. So today, I wanted to quote an article by Dr. Joseph Mercola. And if you guys have never heard of Dr. Mercola, he is the most popular, most viewed, most researched, most knowledgeable natural healthcare provider in the country. Dr. Mercola's website is full of amazing information. And this article that he wrote over about Alzheimer's is what I wanted to go through and quote some of the things that he talked about. He's written several articles on Alzheimer's and brain health. And this last one that he put out was really amazing. And the thing about Alzheimer's is it's the most common form of dementia in which there's no effective conventional treatment or cure. Medical has nothing for this. They really have nothing out there that they can do to make too much of a difference whenever it comes to the progression of Alzheimer's. Now, get this, in 2014, Alzheimer's disease has risen to the point of being the third leading cause of death in the United States. Now, you may see it listed as the sixth leading cause of death. That has been revised. That was a mistake. The CDC found that Alzheimer's had been underreported. So it was listed as sixth or seventh. It's actually, according to the new data, third leading cause of death in America. And I bet you guys didn't know that. You know, I bet you're all worried about getting heart disease and cancer, the first two. You know, you may be taking steps to make sure that you take care of your heart and that you don't get cancer. But what about your brain? Third leading cause of death in the United States. By 2050, if something is not done, as much as 1/4 of the U.S. population may develop Alzheimer's or brain health problems. And if you guys can imagine that, we're taking one of the most expensive diseases to care for, and we're going to have 1/4 of the U.S. population with it if something isn't done. And that's not sustainable. We can't afford that. So if I've ever sent up a red flag on this show before, I want this to be the biggest one that I've ever sent up before. This should really alarm everyone within the sound of my voice. And if something isn't done, a quarter of the U.S. population with the most expensive disorder out there it's unsustainable. Now, not only do you think about Alzheimer's, but what about all of the other brain health problems out there? Dementia is going very underreported in the United States, and the deaths from Alzheimer's rose 55% from just 1999 to 2014. So let's think about that. What changed from 1999 to 2014? Well, if our brains are 40% cholesterol and healthy fats, and if we drop everybody's cholesterol to the point where could it be affecting their brain? Could there be some connection between lowering your cholesterol to a ridiculous level and affecting people's brain health? Some doctors are starting to think so. There are starting to have many doctors think maybe that's not such a good idea. Now, I want to talk to everyone out there who may be not noticing this happening to themselves, but may have this happening to your loved one or to your parents. If someone that you know is starting to tell the same story two or three times, or ask the same question two or three times, or maybe forget to turn right to go to the house and keep going straight, or maybe they forget where they put their keys. If you're around someone that is starting to send up that little red flag in your head, like something's just not the same with them, take action. Don't put this off. Don't be worried about falsely thinking something is wrong with their brain. If you're starting to notice this, it very likely is something that needs to be paid attention to, because the family always notices it before the person does. Mild cognitive impairment, or MCI, increases your risk of developing Alzheimer's many fold. And, it's normal not to be able to find the right word on occasion, or to forget where you put your keys every now and then. But if someone that you know or that you're close to is forgetting words repeatedly, or saying the same story repeatedly in a conversation, or you have to give them directions when they're driving simply to your house, these are some warning signs of mild cognitive impairment. And I want to encourage everyone out there listening, if this is a family member of yours or a loved one of yours, let us know immediately. The sooner we begin to work on these problems, the much better outcome for your loved one. And if you put this off by saying, well, they're just getting older, or, yeah, they're starting to forget sometimes, I don't really want to say anything, the outcomes are not nearly as good if this goes another year or 2 years and no one says anything. So some warning signs of cognitive impairment are: number one, difficulty performing simple tasks like paying bills or remembering errands on a frequent basis. Asking the same question over and over. If they ask you a question and then 5 minutes later they ask you the same thing, that's a really telltale sign. Or telling you the same story repeatedly. And also making difficult choices. If they come with a difficult choice to make and they just can't make it, that's an indication of they're starting to develop cognitive impairment. Inappropriate social behaviors. So if grandpa's not quite doing the same things around the public that he used to, if he's starting to act somewhat inappropriate, that could be a sign of this cognitive impairment. Changes in personality or interest in favorite activities. Number 6 is memory lapses that put people in danger, like leaving the stove on. Guys, this could be a life or death situation here. So it's more than just forgetting your keys. If someone leaves the stove on, or maybe walks out into the street because they get lost, this could be a life or death thing here. So it's something that you want to pay attention to. Inability to recognize faces or familiar objects is another one. If they're wanting you to hand them something and they're like, hand me that, and it's something simple like the remote control, that's another really important sign that something's going on there. Denying memory problems can exist or getting angry when others bring it up. If you've talked to them about their memory problem and they've gotten angry about it, that's another sign that there could be a problem there. Yeah. So don't let your loved one get mad at you to stop you from trying to help them. This is something that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. So if you or someone you know's memory is slipping often enough that there's an inkling of concern or doubt in your mind, it's time to take action. It's time for an evaluation. Or if your loved one's memory is starting to slip to the point where it's sending up that flag in your mind and you think, there's starting to get some changes there. That's something that you really want to take action with. And many people ignore memory lapses and dementia problems because they don't know there's anything that can be done to reverse it. So in other words, you think, well, they can't do anything about it anyway. So, I'm not going to bring it up. He's just getting a little older. There's really nothing that they can do anyway. This is no longer the case. According to a doctor named Dr. Dale Bredesen, his RECODE protocol, which evaluates 150 factors known to contribute to Alzheimer's, listen to this. Dr. Bredesen published a paper in 2014 that demonstrated that he was able to reverse Alzheimer's in 9 out of 10 patients. You heard that correctly. In 9 out of 10 patients, he was able to help with this RECODE protocol. What are some of the things his protocol does? Well, interestingly, it's the exact type of things that we do in our protocol. Ketogenic diet, optimizing vitamin D and other hormones, increasing sleep meditation, detoxification, eliminating gluten and processed foods. So his protocol, where he was able to reverse 9 out of 10 Alzheimer's patients' problems, is the exact same strategies that we use in our brain health protocols right here in Acadiana. This is important, guys. This is important to our families. It's important for our parents. It's important for our country. This is a bad, bad thing that we need to really get a hold of. So we've decided to make April our Brain Health Month. And I've been saying for a long time that your brain can be made to work better, just like your heart can be made to work better. I know you guys have heard me say that before on the show, but now these experts are starting to finally agree and see the light. Dr. Bredessen's using a program very familiar to ours and was able to reverse Alzheimer's in 9 out of 10 patients. So it would make perfect sense to someone that if you went to your cardiologist and he told you that, well, your heart's getting a little bit bad, you need to start exercising and eating better and do these following procedures in order to make your heart healthier. So everybody's familiar with that. It would make perfect sense. But when it comes to the brain, people don't really see that as being able to be made healthier. Nothing could be further from the truth. Just like there are healthy things you can do to make your heart better, there are many healthy things you can do to make your brain better. And that's not just me saying that. That's these other experts that are starting to agree as well. And I'm so glad that these other natural healthcare experts are starting to say the exact same things that I've been saying for, the last 5 or 6 years now. So April is Brain Health Month. If you or someone you know is starting to forget things or have dementia-like symptoms or this mild cognitive impairment, any of those things we talked about, you're welcome to call my office at 837-7174 and leave your name and number on the machine. And when we get back to work Monday, we will call you to see if our methods might be able to help you. Now, when we get back from this next break, I'm going to tell you the one single thing that has been shown to increase your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's by a whopping 89%. This one thing by itself can increase your chance of getting Alzheimer's by 89%. And I'm going to tell you what that is right after this next break. That office number was 837-7174. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. We're discussing brain health today. This is such an important topic. Brain health is an umbrella which encompasses all brain health problems, dementia, Alzheimer's, depression and anxiety, emotional disorders. All of that deals with the health of your brain. And if you can do something natural to help someone's brain get healthier that has dementia, those very same things might help someone's brain get healthier that has depression. So just like you can do similar things to make your heart and lungs healthier, there are similar things you can do to make your brain healthier. So from a natural healthcare perspective, it's all about what can we do to make your brain work better and be healthier. And one of the most striking studies about dementia found that a high carbohydrate diet increases your risk of dementia by a whopping 89%, while a high fat diet lowered it by a risk of 44%. Guys, our brain is made out of fats and cholesterols, like I've been saying. But studies after studies strongly suggest that Alzheimer's disease is intricately connected to insulin resistance. They're even now calling Alzheimer's diabetes of the brain. And you guys have heard me say that before when we discussed this on other shows. But study after study is showing these connections.
Wow. So I had a couple questions based off what you've talked about so far. When you talked about the cause, when you talked about high carb diet, increasing it by 89%, that's amazing considering all the foods that are out there now. And I believe that people are on these high carb diets, if you will, not diet and intentional, but in the way that they eat.
Yes.
Another thing that I wonder about how it correlates with today is technology. We really are at a technology overload right now. Ever since the early 90s when the internet came into being, and now we've got these smartphones and such. What would you say the role of the advancing technology could be playing in the increasing rate of Alzheimer's?
You know, we are definitely on information overload.
Hmm.
But the thing about that is a lot of studies show that the more active you keep your brain as you age, the better you do.
Okay.
So, I'm not really sure on that. I think that whenever it comes to younger folks,
Hmm.
I think there very well might be a role in how much just information they have, in their face all
Right.
the time with
Yeah.
concentration and
Hmm.
those type of brain health issues.
Okay.
But as far as older folks, I think keeping their brain active is a good idea.
Okay.
But I absolutely think a lot of the, anxiety and depression and concentration issues and ADD and a lot of that could technology could play some role in that. And I don't think the answers are all in on that just yet.
Hmm.
But I think within the next 10 or 20 years, we're going to know a lot more about how all of that played a role in all of the issues that younger Americans are having. But who eats the highest carb diet out there? Teenagers and kids and
Yeah.
young people. I
Hmm.
mean, think about the diet in college. I mean, it's pizza and Snickers.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
and of course they're the ones who are having all of these younger type brain health problems. They did some research published in 2013 that showed that sugar and other carbohydrates can disrupt your brain function even if you're not diabetic, even if you don't have signs of dementia. And so if you think about all of these kids out there that eat this sugar constantly, and yet they have problems with concentration and problems with, brain health. There were some other findings that revealed that the higher your blood glucose level, the smaller your hippocampus. Now, your hippocampus is a part of your brain, and the smaller your hippocampus, the worse an individual's memory was and the unhealthier their brain was. So there is an intricate link between this high carbohydrate processed food diet and brain problems. And and instantly when I read Dr. Mercola talk about that, I thought about all these kids that eat this high sugar diet all day. Guys, listen, I'll be somewhere, I'll be at the grocery store, or, I'll be in, one of these big box stores or something, and I'll see these kids pushed around. They don't even have teeth yet, and they're like gumming a piece of candy. That is not okay. That is not the way their bodies are designed to function. You're not loving them by doing that. You're not taking care of them. It's like, oh, you want to give them a treat. That's not a treat for them. That is very, very damaging to their body. David Perlmutter, who's a neurologist, and he authored a book, really two. One of them was Grain Brain, and another book was called Brain Maker. These are two of my favorite books. And he stated that anything that promotes insulin resistance will ultimately increase your risk of Alzheimer's. Anything that affects your blood sugar affects your risk of Alzheimer's. In 2014, Dr. Bredesen published a paper that demonstrated the power of lifestyle choices in the prevention and treatment of brain health problems, including Alzheimer's. It's all about lifestyle choices, is how you address brain health, Alzheimer's, depression, anxiety, all these other things. It's all about changing the lifestyle parameters. And Dr. Bredesen looked at 36 different lifestyle parameters, and he was able to reverse Alzheimer's in 9 out of 10 of his patients. This includes exercise, optimizing diet, vitamin D and other hormones, increasing sleep, detoxification, eliminating gluten and processed foods, and several other things. These are the exact type of things we do in our functional wellness program. And we're seeing the same benefits in our brain health program that he did in his. So the reason that I'm bringing all this up today is I want you guys to know that if you or a family member is starting to develop brain health symptoms, you don't have to be hopeless. You may not have to, continue to let your brain health or your loved one's brain health decline. And, in this article, Dr. Mercola lists some of the things that these experts are doing to help patients with brain problems. And it's right out of our playbook, right out of our, exact same things that we're doing. He talked about trying to reduce high sugar processed foods in the diet and how that increases insulin resistance. And there's a direct correlation to Alzheimer's, dementia, and brain problems. So the solution is to keep your fasting insulin below 3. Now, you notice that I said fasting insulin, not fasting blood sugar. Insulin, most doctors don't even test for insulin levels at all in any of the blood tests that they do. They test blood sugar. We have the only lab that I know of that tests fasting insulin levels very commonly in our patients. Even in diabetics, they don't test insulin levels. Like, why would you not want to know what somebody's insulin level is whenever you're looking at a diabetic patient? Insulin level is everything. Insulin controls blood sugar, so we want to know that. But the best thing you can do for your brain health is to try to keep your fasting insulin levels below 3, and that's according to Dr. Mercola.
So you've talked a lot about blood sugar levels, insulin, diabetes. What do you believe would be the correlation between diabetes and Alzheimer's? I mean, can having diabetes help lead to Alzheimer's?
Yeah, it increases manyfold.
Okay.
If you have diabetes, your chances of getting Alzheimer's goes up many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
And so, your brain runs. I'm not going to get into the real. Listen, you could go down a rabbit hole with this very easily when you talk about how your brain processes sugar. I can't do that here on the radio, but I want you to picture this. So imagine a car engine that runs cleaner off of ethanol than it does off of, say, gasoline. We've all heard that. Like, there are certain engines that run cleaner off of different fuels. Your brain, picture your brain as an engine, and it runs cleaner off of healthy fats than it does off of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a dirty fuel for your brain.
Gotcha.
So when you boil this down, if I had a big chalkboard here and I went through all of the biochemistry of why this happens, just keep in mind that carbohydrates are like running dirty fuel in your engine. It's not as clean of a fuel as healthy fats are for your brain. And, the other thing, patients that were severely deficient of vitamin D, had 125 percent higher risk of developing some form of dementia. It goes up 125% if you're short of D. So many patients we check are short of D. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I did blood work and somebody had normal vitamin D. It might have been 6 months, and you're talking hundreds of patients that we've done blood work on. And out of all of that, nobody has a healthy D level. So in our program, we try to optimize your vitamin D level between 60 and 80, which is exactly the level that Dr. Mercola stated that he tries to achieve with his patients. And so traditional thinking is anything over about 34 is okay on your vitamin D level. And that's okay. But if you really want to optimize your body's ability to function, 60 to 80 is what we try to keep it in our program, and what Dr. Mercola tries to keep it in his program as well. And then he talks about omega-3 levels. Omega-3s are one of the most important things you can do to try to take care of your brain health. And you guys have heard me talk about omega-3s and healthy fats over and over again on the show. And those of you that are regular listeners have heard me say that many times. But the bottom line is healthy fats are critical to your entire brain health. So generally, we want to megadose you on omega-3s. And omega-3s are fish oils. Those are the healthy fats. The thing that blew me away the most about reading this article, though, there was something else. You guys have heard me talk many times on this show about something called stealth infections. These are things that are creating infectious reactions in our body that we don't know about. And I have never heard of another healthcare practitioner talk about this before until I read this article. Dr. Mercola talks about something called prion infection. Now, prions are an infectious protein, not a virus or a bacteria or a fungus. It's an infectious protein that has been linked to Alzheimer's. In fact, patients that have this prion infection were 10 times more likely to have been cognitively impaired at death compared to those without. And then he goes into all these environmental toxins, and I know you guys have heard me talk a lot about that, but Dr. Mercola talks about how environmental toxins wreck your brain. It's just that simple. And the average American now eats 14 pounds of environmental toxins, chemicals, preservatives, and pesticides every single year. But my point with all of this is don't ignore these dementia problems because you think nothing could be done. Don't ignore your brain health problems, and don't ignore your spouse or loved one or family member's brain health problems. And if you're young and you have depression or anxiety, or you're older and you're starting to forget, or you have dementia, or even if you have full-blown Alzheimer's, natural health care is starting to figure this out. Because the truth is, medicine has nothing for this stuff. There's no medicine they can give you to make your brain healthier. And Dr. Mercola agrees, and Dr. Brednison agrees. And these are some world-renowned natural healthcare practitioners. And remember what I said at the beginning of this. This one disease has the ability to bankrupt our healthcare system. By 2050, a quarter of the U.S. population may have dementia or Alzheimer's. So if I've ever sent up a red flag on this show, please understand I'm sending up one now. And if this is of concern to you, you're welcome to call my office at 837-7174 and leave your name and number on the machine. We're not at work today. It's Saturday morning, but we'd be happy to call you back Monday and talk to you about your health problems. We can do an evaluation to see if anything natural can be done to make your body and to make your brain healthier. That's 837-7174. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me on this very important show today where we are discussing brain health. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, America has a brain health problem. All of the people out there that are suffering with brain health problems, the depression, the anxiety, ADD, bipolar disorders, feelings of hopelessness, sleep problems, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, autism. I could go on and on and on. That's not to mention the millions of people that just don't feel themselves every day. Whether it's a labeled disease or not, let's take that huge group of people out of it. There's millions of people that just don't have energy or have brain fog or or just don't feel like themselves every day. The brain health of America is a complete disaster. 20% of children aged 13 to 18 experience severe mental disorders in any given year. 20%. So 2 out of 10 children will experience severe mental disorders in any given year. 42 million people, almost 20% of the U.S. population, lives with an anxiety disorder, such as panic attacks, OCDs, or phobias. 20% of the U.S. population. Mood disorders, such as depression, is now the third most common cause of hospitalizations in the United States for children and adults. People living with these mental disorders die on an average of 25 years earlier than other Americans. So if our life expectancy is 70, theirs is only 45. Suicide is now the third leading cause of death in America between 14 and 24 years of age. That's terrible. Third leading cause of death in America between 15 and 24 years of age. Each day, 22 veterans die from suicide. Millions suffer PTSD so severe that they're unable to be productive members of society. Guys, I love our veterans. Something needs to be done to help these young Americans. And these are more than statistics. These are our children, our mothers, our fathers, our siblings, our heroes that defended our country. Somebody needs to stand up and do something to try to help them, and that's what I'm trying to do. Our brain health program has the potential to help so many people live a healthier life. Just imagine if we group everybody with a brain health problem in one big category. Every condition that I mentioned today, everybody with brain fog, everybody that doesn't feel themselves. Imagine if we split America down two groups of people, one that have brain health problems and one that don't. It might be 70%, 60, 70, who knows, percent of Americans that need something to do to make their brain healthier. Think about that. This is such an important show today. So when we talk about brain health, don't get too caught up in what your particular label was, because no matter what label you were given, it's still an unhealthy brain. And the pathway to bring somebody's brain back to health is very similar, like I spoke in the last segment. Number one, cutting out the crappy carbohydrates, the simple sugars, eating healthy fats, getting your vitamin D, decreasing environmental toxins. All of the things that we talked about in that last segment are all things that you can do to make your brain healthier. So there's a lot more at stake here than just your spouse forgetting their keys sometimes, or forgetting people's names, or forgetting where they're going. Or this is more important than just your teenager being a little anxious sometimes. Don't wait until they develop a full-blown condition. Don't let them go down that pathway. Let's try to catch these things early, and the earlier, the better. And as far as our young people go, sometimes we get caught up in this quote unquote, it's a chemical imbalance thing. Well, that might be the case, but my question to that is, why are the chemicals out of balance? Yes, they may have something out of balance there, but why is that? What's making them go out of balance? And how do we get them back in balance? And anytime we're talking about these type of problems, we want to keep asking the question of why is that there? Instead of just saying, okay, they're out of balance. Well, I have my answer. That's not an answer. The chemicals that they are talking about being out of balance are called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are how your brain cells communicate with each other. That's how one part of your brain communicates with another part. Most of these emotional based disorders are a result of a problem in the neurotransmitter function. So, the first thing we want to know is which one of these neurotransmitters are out of balance. For example, serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter associated with anger regulation, pain modulation, mood, sleep, appetite, and bowel function. So, serotonin we look at in depression, anxiety, irritable bowel syndrome, OCD, migraines, fibromyalgia, and bipolar disorder. So, serotonin is converted into melatonin, so these folks don't sleep very well either. But in order to make serotonin, you need adequate amounts of iron, niacin, and folic acid, magnesium, and enzymes. So if you're short of these building blocks, you don't make serotonin. You won't have enough serotonin. You cannot make a house without bricks and mortar and concrete and wood. And you cannot make serotonin without iron, niacin, folic acid, magnesium, and enzymes. Do you realize how short everyone is of those building blocks? So many people are shortage of iron. So many people don't have the enzymes or magnesium that we look at. Now, another interesting fact about serotonin, 80% of serotonin production takes place in the gut. And last week, we talked about how many people have an unhealthy gut. So if you have an unhealthy gut, you're not going to make healthy serotonin levels. And guess what? You're going to have a quote unquote chemical imbalance. Doesn't that make a lot more sense whenever it comes to dealing with these brain health problems? Because if you have an unhealthy gut, you're going to have an unhealthy brain. And we just went over that last week. Another neurotransmitter I wanted to take a look at today is dopamine. Dopamine controls feelings of worthlessness, inability to handle stress, not feeling rested even after an adequate night's sleep, poor concentration or inability to complete tasks and get distracted easily. Now, in order for your body to make dopamine, you must have high levels of B6 and B9. So B6 and 9 has to be available for your body to make dopamine. Also, dopamine is dependent on proper liver function as well, so we have to look at that. So do you see where I'm coming from here? If you don't have the bricks and mortar to make your neurotransmitters, if you don't have the building blocks to make proper chemicals to proper neurotransmitters, you're not going to be able to have a balanced chemical environment in the brain. Now, the third neurotransmitter I wanted to discuss is GABA. GABA has been associated with insomnia, anxiety, or depression. So if GABA is out of balance, you may have one of those. Now, GABA is very dependent on blood glucose. So we're back to blood sugar again. And there are several other neurotransmitters that I don't have time to go into, but my point with showing you guys a few of the most common neurotransmitters is I wanted you to understand when someone says you have a chemical imbalance, what they're talking about is you're short of one of these neurotransmitters. Now, how do we know that? How do we know that you're short of a particular neurotransmitter rather than just guessing, which is usually what happens? Part of our brain health evaluation is we have this amazing questionnaire that you can fill out. And each segment of this questionnaire deals with a different neurotransmitter. So what I'm saying is, it's a little test that you can take. And there's a dopamine section. There's a serotonin section. There's a GABA section. And we can score each one of these sections. And whatever section you score the highest on is probably the neurotransmitter that you're short of or that is out of balance. And we can give you the building blocks that your body needs to make that neurotransmitter. And maybe, just maybe, that can help your body restore the balance of that neurotransmitter. And of course, if it's serotonin, we have to address the gut because that's where it's made. Doesn't that make sense? It's not good enough just to say you have a chemical imbalance. Let's throw some chemicals at it and hope we get lucky. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Maybe you make it worse. But when we couple this questionnaire with our brain health tips that I talked about earlier, with these lifestyle changes, we can make a real difference in how your brain functions. And that's why we're making April Brain Health Month. And I want to encourage any of you out there that's having dementia, if your spouse or your parents are having dementia, or if you have teenagers that's having brain health problems, or young adults, or if this is you or your spouse, let's see if there's something we can do in natural health care to make your brain healthier. Because the truth, ladies and gentlemen, there's lots of things we can do to make your brain healthier. Lots of things. We just have to figure out which direction to go with it. So you're welcome to call my office at 837-7174. Leave your name and number on the machine. We'll get back with you Monday when we get back to work and see if we can get you some help. That's 837-7174. I'm Dr. Kevin. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you guys for joining me on this very important show today. I hope today's show has been able to clear up some of the misconceptions out there about all these emotional disturbances and attention problems and dementia issues and Alzheimer's and PTSD and all of these things that are going on out there in America's brain health. Because remember, the most difficult of all of these things to treat is Alzheimer's disease. And as I stated in my opening segment, according to Dr. Dale Brennison's research, he is getting results in 9 out of 10 Alzheimer's disease patients using these exact natural healthcare processes. And the last thing that I wanted to go through with you guys today real quick are some brain boosting foods. And again, this won't be enough to be able to fix these problems, but there are certainly some things you should be added to your diet. And number one are healthy fats. Healthy fats are what our brain is made out of. Fats and cholesterols are what make up your brain structure. Your brain is 40% cholesterol. So you have to have healthy fats and cholesterol for proper brain function. So it's possible taking all of this cholesterol medicine to drop your cholesterol levels through the floor is not the healthiest thing for your brain. In fact, Dr. Mercola talks about this, about how essential cholesterol is for normal, healthy brain function. He says ideal cholesterol for brain function is around 240. You'd be put on drugs if you went in with a cholesterol of 240. I try to eat an avocado every day. I try to fill my diet with healthy fats like nuts, walnuts, healthy cold water fish from up north, coconut oil, olive oil. Healthy fats are brain boosting foods, as are antioxidants like blueberries. I try to eat a cup of blueberries every day. They're loaded with antioxidants and phytonutrients. They've been shown time and time again to boost your brain power, and I try to eat them every single day. One of the things Dr. Mercola's article was talking about is detrimental to your brain health is feedlot beef. Unhealthy beef is loaded with corn. Corn has inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids. Grass-fed beef and venison has omega-3 anti-inflammatory healthy fats for your brain and body. So I try to eat grass-fed organic beef very often, usually 2, 3, maybe 4 nights a week. I try to eat grass-fed organic beef or venison. Also, it's loaded with B12, and a lot of studies show that if you're short of B12, that can affect poor brain function as well. So grass-fed red meat is actually very good for you. But the bottom line is we need to take a look at what's going on to see if natural health care can make your brain healthier. Because the truth is, there's almost always something we can do to improve your brain function. But the sooner we get to it, the better. So if you or your loved one is having brain health problems, you're welcome to call my office at 837 7174. We can have a conversation about how I think my methods might be able to help you. That number's 837-7174. Thank you all for listening. My purpose is to try to help as many people as possible live a healthier, longer, better, sharper life. And this could actually save our country from bankruptcy. So this is an important one. If I've ever sent up a red flag, today is it. That number was 837-7174. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.